lying to yourself and you're filling yourself up with expectations that can't be met. So you're making trading harder than it needs to be. You're making learning how to trade harder than it needs to be. Versus finding comfort and fun in reading price action. If you make that your first stage and bloom there, everything you do in profitable trading that's consistently profitable is going to stem from you doing this part right. But nobody wants to spend the time here doing this. They'll go to the golf range, pay the fees to be on a golf course and hit balls out there like they're going to be the next Tiger Woods, knowing full well they're not going to be on any PGA tournaments. They're not going to be on TV, but they're going to be out there, damn it, every weekend. When the weather's good, I got to be out there on the green. That's not going to make them any money. They're going to put all the emphasis on getting out there in the woods to get that deer when they got food in the refrigerator. I got to go out there with the boys. It's got to happen. The fish are biting, hon. I got to get up early tomorrow. I don't know what time I'm coming home, but me and Rick, we're out there. We're going on the boat. Whatever. You'll pour your time and effort and energy in all these other things, and you'll spend your money chasing women in the club on Fridays and Saturday night, and on Monday regretting it, and having nothing to show for it. And then, but you'll do the same thing, work all week to do that same thing on the weekend. Raise up your another week of girl money. And women, I'm not trying to be mean to you, but that's just what men do. And some of you women that are smart, they want to drink for free. You know how to work that system. You ain't going home with nobody, but you're drinking for free. And men simply just don't see it. They can be rooked easily. And that's why you suck as traders, because you want to throw your money away. And these markets are a cruel lover. They'll shake its ass at you, bat its eyelashes at you and say, come on, honey, you got a chance. But you're going home alone, broke. She had a great time. She had a great time. You paid for a wonderful experience for her to take it from you. And that's why you suck as a trader, because you think that way. And instead of saying, I want to know where I'm likely to make bad choices, and I need to fortify those areas. I don't want to get drunk. That's why I don't drink alcohol, because if I get drunk, I'm already an impulsive creature. I swing from one spectrum to the next. Very rarely am I in the middle. So if I intoxicate myself, or if I take drugs, I would be one extreme or the other. And I've never been in an environment like that. I don't want to give myself that opportunity. So if I know that that would take me out of my mental faculties, I won't be able to make decisions well. I avoid that. I have abstained from those things all my life. Trading, you have to think about it the same way. This is what, like, the best part of Alexander's book, Alexander Elder, Trading for a Living, is the first half, where it has nothing to do with charts. That's where that book really shines, because it talks about persons that have alcohol addiction. And I grew up in an alcohol addicted household. My family members were all drunks or druggies. And my father, who was about to come out in the real world after 40 plus years in prison as a contract murderer, Michael Joe Hallington, 155634, that's his inmate number, or the cut. The cut is the Jessup House of Corrections. Okay, he's been paroled, and we're waiting for him to be released. He picked up a drug addiction over in Vietnam, got addicted to heroin, came home, and the only way he could meet that expense was to do things illegally, and got wrapped up in the wrong people and started doing things he shouldn't have done and ended people's lives for money. I'm not bragging about that. He deserved to be where he was. He deserved that. And I know that book Alexander wrote, it resonated with me. I could see how, if I'm not careful, while I was a teenager, I kept myself from drugs, I kept myself from alcohol, and I did not allow myself to have my mind clouded by that stuff. And when I read that book, it really resonated with me, because I was like, wow, I'm glad I'm choosing to do this young, because maybe later in life, I could have had a midlife crisis and became an alcoholic or a drug addict. because I wasn't successful in life, and I made bad choices. And then there it is, I go into a tailspin. But that book really, it helped me focus on the most important factors. It's how we think, what causes this impulsive nature. If you've never read the book, if you don't have the book, go buy it. I don't have an affiliate link on Amazon. I'm not going to make any money off of it. Alexander Elder is not going to give me a kickback for you buying his book. But the first half of that book, honestly, that's the real problems why people can't make money. It's not that they don't have a good system for technical stuff. The technical stuff is absolutely, completely not important at all. I can trade without a chart. I don't need a chart. But the things that we think about, the catalyst for why we make decisions, and then when you put a cause and effect for making or losing money behind these impulses, if you've never identified what they are in yourself, and we all have it, folks. Nobody walks around with clean laundry, okay? Everybody has a dirty shirt somehow. Somebody has 2-day-old underwear, okay? Something about us isn't right as a trader. And that small little rock in your shoe is going to cause you to walk differently. You won't be able to do as much as you could unless you fixed it first. And by watching price action and studying how you internalize everything that market's doing. For men, it's a gladiator type thing. I'm going to battle. It's an MMA fight. I'm slaying a dragon. I'm Rambo going in and vanquishing all the enemies behind enemy lines with 3 bullets in my gun. I'm going to kill everybody with the least. Setting themselves up for failure, not realizing it. Placing so much emphasis on the cheerleaded after the fact moment that is likely never to come. And women don't think that way. They think, I have to nest. I have to get my resources together. And I have to make sure that everything is how it needs to be. That's process and protocol oriented. Men are, I'm swinging my sword. I'm emptying my clip. I'm literally going to go out there and remove the head of everything in front of me. I'm going to get the touchdown. I'm going to be the Super Bowl winner. I'm going to be the World Series winner. That's how men think. And that thought process is the very thing that holds men back as traders and allows women to excel. Think about it. If you're a woman, it makes a whole lot more sense now. Even if you aren't profitable yet, you know that you are doing things that are process-oriented, principle-oriented, organized. Everything you're doing is organized, not impulsive. Men, watch them. We are creatures of impulse. But when it comes time to defend the family and the home, that's what we shine on. That's what we're designed to do. We are absolutely the right thing for that. That's why we were designed to be bigger, stronger, faster. But intellectually, sometimes we miss the mark. And that is exasperated and highlighted with a bright spotlight in trading. And if you're weak-minded, little dick energy, you look at this and say, oh, I can't listen to this guy. Or you take it as a personal insult. Instead of saying, you know what? This makes a whole lot of sense. And I am holding myself back because I think this way. I had to do the same stuff, folks. It was hard for me as a young man who thought he figured out a lot of stuff and how everything works and everybody is going to be impressed. Nobody was impressed. And it didn't matter how much money I made. They were not impressed. They didn't worry about learning what I was doing. They wanted to be around me and let me spend money on them. So while I was not going to bars and giving the girls my money through alcohol, they were getting things from me and my personal, back then, friends that are not my friends now. They were just mooching off me. So I lied to myself and said, yeah, they respect me because they want to hang around with me. No, they wanted the gifts that I was giving them for hanging out. And I was spending the money because it made me feel like a big shot. So who's smarter there? It wasn't me. It wasn't me. It was them. They were the market then. They were taking from me. And I was lying to myself saying, I'm happy. I'm happy doing this. When eventually it got to the point where, this is dumb. What are they really bringing to me? What are they making? What deposits are they making into my life? Because I don't even feel good when I'm spending money on them anymore. And that's what you have to do. You have to take inventory while you're watching price action and discovering what makes you tick, what makes you fearful, what makes you feel like you have all the things figured out. And then when it doesn't work out like that, what were those catalysts? Because that's your problem areas. The things that make you impulsive. Do you get angry real quick? Do you feel scared out of nowhere for no reason, have anxiety attacks? You're watching price action and you're like, oh man, I'm having heart palpitations. And you don't even know why it has happened. I'm telling you how it happened. In the last 30 seconds, you just thought of something and you don't have an answer for it. And it scared you. And you're trying to throw it away like it didn't happen, but it's telling you with your body symptoms that you absolutely have something that you need to resolve. And if you're in the market trading, chances are you have more leverage on than you should. Or you just took a trade impulsively and you don't know what you're doing. And you're just like the person at the casino that laid down their chips on a hand that they don't know is going to win or not. Or they just put in money and hit maximum bet on the slot machine and pulled the handle down. And you know that that's either going to be the last one you did or you're going to get lucky. And your hearts are palpitating. People put themselves through that every single day. And if you feed yourself that as a steady diet, not knowing what you're doing, over leveraging, over trading, eventually, your body is going to stop working properly. And you will have a heart attack. You will have a stroke. The things that you think you're about to feel and have, I had many times like that over my years. I just went through vertigo for the first time. And that vertigo attack made me feel like I was having a stroke. I thought I was dying. And for weeks after that, I was expecting a heart attack, a stroke. But it was just anxiety around not knowing what I had experienced. And then later found out it's vertigo. So now my blood pressure's fine. But when I'm in a constant state of, it's going to happen again, it's a mess. Like it was messing up my blood sugar. It was messing up my blood pressure. Like I had wild high blood pressure, dizzy spells. And then finally, when I was shown that it was just vertigo, it's a small little calcium deposit that went into my inner ear and tricked my brain thinking that I was spinning when I really wasn't. It's a terrible thing, but there are exercises you can do to mitigate that. And it can come back. My mother's had it one time in her life and never had it again. I've had one episode with it. I hope and pray in Jesus' name I never have another one of them. But if I do have it, I know it's not a stroke. I know it's not a heart attack. But when you have it for the first time, it's terrifying. When you're in a trade and you're over leveraged, Caleb, you will feel like that. You'll feel like the weight of the world's crushing down on you. And you're literally standing still, but wishing you could run away. If someone tries to talk to you, even if they're the sweetest tone and well-intended purposes and trying to console you, you will think they're cussing you out and calling you the worst possible names and spitting in your face. Get away from me. Because there's this one more thing that's causing more stimuli in your brain because you're overloaded. You have taken on too much risk and you've done something impulsively. You know what you should be doing, which is get out of the trade. That's the corrective measure to stop it. You have to feel comfortable stopping a transaction, even if it's a losing trade. I have traded as a 20-year-old in panic, driving a truck, and drove recklessly, and took risks, and hit signs on the road because I was rushing to get to a payphone, sliding on ice, nearly tearing off the passenger side mirror of my employer's truck because I wanted to hurry up and get out of a trade that I just couldn't hold on to anymore in soybeans. I was losing my ass, and I was hoping all day that it was going to turn around, and I had literally 7 or 6 minutes left until I can get out of the trade. I tore the mirror almost completely off the truck, rushing, turning into a road that didn't even look to see if there's a car coming. I could have ended up hitting someone. And the only thing I cared about was getting out of that painful feeling of I'm not in control. And I ran into a company called Kelco on Baltimore Street. I'm not sure if it's even there anymore. I hated going to that stop, but I went there on a day I'm not even supposed to service it. But that was the first place I could go to that had a phone that I didn't have to put a quarter into it. I just want to run to it, grab it, pick it up, and dial the number. And I got out of the trade. And as soon as I got out of the trade, even though the mirror was tore off and I had to go and tell my boss, I messed that up. I hadn't had any accidents prior to that. You would think I'd be scared that I'm going to lose my job. Oh, because I got out of the trade. In 10 minutes of driving, my breathing was regulated. Panic was gone. Yes, I took a loss. Yes, my mirrors tore up. And yes, I'm probably going to get in trouble when I go back to talk to my boss and tell him what I did. But I was able to take it. My mind wasn't clouded. I wasn't in a state of disorientation, which is what you're going to feel in these markets if you let yourself trade like this, not knowing what you're doing, without a model, over leveraging, over trading. You're placing too much on your system, expecting a lottery result to come in and save you. And people that don't have a model or know how to trade, they repeat this over and over and over again. And there's people that are pretending to be mentors and they have no idea what they're doing. They don't even touch on these topics. Panic, anxiety. I lived with it for years with it. And the first thing you have to control is how you think. And you won't know how you're going to derail yourself until you go through the exercises of watching price, recording what you feel, how you feel. Do you feel elated? Do you feel invincible? When do those things manifest themselves? When you're watching price, what does it look like in the chart? Because it's going to happen again. And it's going to happen sometimes for you that are impatient when you're in a trade with real money and you're going to feel invincible. And then all of a sudden, the rug gets pulled out from underneath you. The market does what it's really going to do. And you're not looking for those things. You're looking for further evidence that you're perfect. You're looking for further evidence that you can't wait to go show everybody on social media how much money you just made. But you're not going to talk about how you had heart palpitations, you nearly pissed yourself, you feel like you're going to shit your pants, you feel like you're going to pass out, die. You're not going to share those results. You had no problem doing it. It's just an everyday thing for you. And that in itself is problematic because you're lying to yourself if you do those things. And you're making your progress harder because you're saying that it's easy for you right now when you're struggling to go through it. Young men, listen. It is not shameful for you to say, I am really struggling right now to get this under my grasp. I'm a wreck emotionally and psychologically when I'm studying this stuff and when I'm taking trades. I know I shouldn't do it, but I can't stop myself. You're the same thing as a gambler going to a casino. You're the same thing as that young man that takes all of his money that's worked all week and sees the pretty girl at the end of the bar or across the club and says, you know what? I'm going to spend everything in my pocket with the expectation that I'm going to get that take profit of going home with her. And she's just going to run your stop. She's going to margin call you. But you're going to do it the same way next week with a different girl. When is the end? When are you going to stop doing those things? Think about it. What is going to be the catalyst that says, I'm not going to do those things? Because in the marketplace, blowing the account and not having any more money to refund it, guess what? That's the outcome that's coming. It's going to happen. It will absolutely happen to you. So you have to know what are these things that's going to trigger that. So that way you can recognize them and say, I'm not going to recklessly plunge ahead. I'm not going to meet a uncomfortable drawdown of a losing trade today. I'm not going to feed that with more losses. Yes, it's not fun going home with a losing trade. But you know what's worse? Blowing the account. Making a small, less than 1% loss turn into 10% drawdown or maximum drawdown for the day and you can't trade your account. That sucks. That's recklessness. And not enough is said about these types of things. And the closest I've ever heard, Mark Douglas doesn't even come close. He doesn't even come close. Not to be disrespectful. The book is essential. Everybody should have it in their library. They should read it. But it still doesn't pair with the logic of knowing what you're doing is wrong and someone telling you how to fix it and you ignoring it. You may have read Mark Douglas's book, but are you implementing it? Yeah, I read it, man. I'm an OG just like everybody else. I read that book. But how are you trading? You're not using anything from that book. You're doing everything that he says that it's going to be a problem. Think about it. You know what you're doing many times is not what you should be doing. And you shun that conscious in you, that little inside voice that's yours. It's your conscience saying, I shouldn't press the button. And you think, oh, wait a minute. And then something comes over top of you and you press it because you just can't sit comfortably in a position of self-control. So you let yourself do what your impulsive nature wants to do. And then you lose money. And it doesn't happen quick. It's going to be a long, drawn-out process, a painful lesson that should be used as a means of saying, you know what? I don't want to do this again. But that's not enough. That's not enough, young man. You have to have more of it to see that there's a problem here that you need to identify. What is it you're doing? Are you angry because something just happened and you want to have a feel-good moment? Or are you impatient and you want to get there faster, knowing full well that you're not ready? That's what you have to identify. You have to identify your impulsive nature, your recklessness, and impatience. And what are those catalysts that promote that decision-making or that thought process at the time when you're taking these impulsive decisions and placing them in the marketplace? Is that part's for the people that are already trading, not you, Caleb. But this is an area that is rich for people to write books on. If you have experiences where you've made money, but you've gone through painful experiences like that and you want to write a book, I'm buying your book. I'm buying that. Because that's someone that had to wrestle demons that they made relationships with, that they protected. See, you're protecting all those bad decision-making catalysts. You're protecting them instead of saying, it's time to go. It's eviction day. You got to get out of here. What I'm trying to do, there's no room for you here. I'm building an enterprise and there's no positions open for detractors, derailers, things that's going to cause me to not find my success and reach my opportunities and my threshold of success. You have to identify them as soon as you can. And it's scary to do that because it makes you feel frail. When frailness in the beginning is a strength. It doesn't feel that way, but it really is a superpower. That you are not going to let your ego and your pride mask what is going to be the biggest barriers for you to succeed. All you have to do is recognize what they are and do everything you can to not feed them. What's the success rate for guys that go to the bars and spend all their money? Are they finding their wife? No. And the ones that they end up probably marrying in those conditions, do those marriages work out? Probably not. So why would you expect it any different in the marketplace when you're competing with the smartest people in the world that have control over everything and they're tying strings to you like a marionette and they're going to make you dance when they want you to? All they got to do is make the market run a little bit. And, I've been waiting for this move all morning. Let me get in there. I know it's probably not the best time to buy it, but I got to get in here because I don't want to miss it. And I won't use a stop loss because I don't know how much it's going to retrace. Does that sound like someone that has a sound logic and a model that makes sense to trade on? No, it doesn't. But at the time, you're going to convince yourself, it's my model. It's my right now model. And right now model is the model that always blows out. That wasn't your model 20 minutes ago. It wasn't the model last Friday. It wasn't what you were starting to trade with. And this is what you settled in on. It's your right now model. It's your right now decision process that has absolutely nothing to do with why you're trying to trade. It just means that you feel like you're going to get something out of the move. You're trying to milk it. And many times You're not milking a female cow. You're milking a bull, and you know what you get from that. So you have a lot of work in the early stages of your development that you have to force yourself to be honest about. You have to recognize character flaws that once you identify them and you build in coping skills. Like I had to learn lots of skills to manage anxiety and agoraphobia. I had fear of being around other people. I could not have done what I'm doing today when I was 20. I couldn't have done it. I was so afraid of other people's view of me because I was trying so hard to make myself into something to impress my grandfather. So I had this deep-rooted sense of wanting to shield myself from criticism. And then eventually it led to agoraphobia. I didn't want to be around other people. I didn't want to be around other people where they would say, hey, how's your trading going? Because I blew that account then. And I didn't want to lie because it's not easy to manage a lot of lies. Once you start lying, you got to remember everything. So I would avoid all those things. I would avoid meeting up with people. If we had family functions, I was sick. If we have a cookout, I've already ate. I'm not going. And I just stayed away from everybody because I didn't want the invitation of friends and family to ask me how I was doing because I didn't want them to say, haha, we told you. So it caused anxiety. And then that anxiety exasperated to levels of agoraphobia, which is fear of being around other people. And your world shrinks down to what was at that time just my bedroom. And it started this toxic cycle of everything about myself I hated. Everything that I did was wrong. And I punished myself and punished myself and punished myself. And I was just in this small little world that I created for myself with fear, anxiety, and depression. And then it grew into an eating disorder. And I was very, very well built as a young man. I was working out. I had a very amazing upper body. I didn't work out. I was the guy that didn't do leg day. And I ain't got to shame to tell you, I look like a fucking ice cream cone. But it is what it is. I ain't going to lie to you. I didn't want to do my legs. It sucked. So I wore big baggy pants, Zubaz pants back then, like the Road Warriors, the wrestlers. You know, it was big baggy pants and then muscle tees or tight T-shirts and showed everything. And I went down from 195 pounds, which was stacked with no juice. I was going to start taking steroids because I wanted to be a wrestler, WWF wrestler. And this agoraphobia and anxiety and eating disorder brought me all the way down to 150 pounds. And I might even show a picture of it the next time we do a live stream. I was emaciated. I looked a mess. I looked like a cancer patient before chemo. Like it was bad. And my bones and my joints hurt because I was malnourished. And I put myself through that. The market didn't do that to me. I did. I did that to myself. And it caused so many problems. I was developing an ulcer in my stomach. I had irritable bowel syndrome and colitis a lot, which are all terrible, terrible feelings of not being able to go to the bathroom the right way. And because I was constantly pumping acid in my stomach through stress and barely eating anything, I couldn't even drink water because it was painful. I was going to the emergency room, severely dehydrated, and they had to put IV bags on me, and I had to spend time there getting rehydrated. And I was doing it all the time. And that wasn't enough to say, you better stop before you kill yourself. I was trapped in this loop of constantly feeding the demons, protecting them. I was protecting them. And I needed someone to say, hey, you need help. You need to stop thinking like you're thinking. And you're doing it to yourself. And a lot of my students that have been upfront and honest, and please don't take this as an invitation to reach out to me, email, because it's barely ever an opportunity for me to get back to some of you that send me emails, and you end up sending me emails months later saying you're a jerk, you don't ever answer my emails. Look how many people follow me. If just 5% of that ever sends me an email, I would never get through them. So it's not that I don't want to. There's so many of you. But I want Caleb to understand that this is a wonderful opportunity for you to carve out a lifestyle, a life for yourself, and it need not be millionaire status. You could just do really, really well, making less than 6 figures, but high 90s, and be comfortable, not have to work your job, not have to commute 2 hours. That sucks. Working 12-hour days. That's replaceable. You don't need to do much to get that replaced. But you can also chase unrealistic expectations and have high, lofty goals on yourself and paint yourself in a situation where you've told friends and family that you're going to do this and you're going to do that. And now you just made it harder for yourself, which is why I tell you in those Twitter spaces last year and the year before when I was doing them, that love your friends and family from a distance and keep your business out of their attention. Don't tell them what you're doing. Let them recognize what you're doing because your lifestyle has changed. Telling people that you're going to be successful trading, you're going to make lots of money, all you have done now is given them the fuel and the ammo to shoot you in your face and tell you, I told you weren't going to be able to do that. Versus if you just keep it to yourself, you're not elevating the risks, you're not making it more complicated, you're not making it more emotional, you're not making it harder for yourself to live up to expectations that are outside of your own. And as soon as you invite other people to give you their opinion, you're now trying to appease what they think. And they don't even know what a chart's telling them, but they're going to have an opinion about trading. Nobody makes money in trading. Well, it's hard for people to make money when it's like that. When you're complicating it with all these emotional, psychological barriers that you're going to place up inside your mind. And it's a normal thing. It's more prevalent than you realize. Most people are really good at hiding it. They're ashamed of it. They think they're not a man. They think they're not mentally fit. When it's just you keeping yourself in a very stressful environment and not identifying the exits. You choose to stay there. You're in a cell in a prison, but the cell door's open. And you can leave anytime you want, but you're making your bed there. You're staying there because you feel more comfortable in that pain than the pain you think is going to happen because other people will be able to say, I told you you couldn't do it. So you're going to keep doing all these things, making decisions on things that are not rooted in sound logic because you want to be able to say, I did it my way. And that way wasn't even scientifically laid out as a process. This is what I'm going to do when I do this. If I have a losing trade, then I'm going to react this way. I'm not going to trade. I'm not going to look at the charts. I'm going to go back in. I'm going to choose same model tomorrow when I find a setup. If the setup's there, I'm going to execute on it. I'm not going to increase my risk. I'm not going to trade more contracts. And once I get my win for the day, I'm done. I'm turning my charts off. I have to control myself. You have to think this way and live it. Stay in a rule-based mindset. If you do, you're going to have a whole lot less anxiety. You'll still feel stress. I mean, stress is normal. Stress is a proof that you're living. Your heart speeds up a little bit. Guess what? That's good. You're excited. That's not fear. You're excited because you're following your model and you're doing everything right. See what I just did there? When I was 20, oh shit. I wish this thing would start moving faster. I haven't overcome the commission cost yet. My commission cost back then was $100 for one contract. Think about that now. You guys are complaining and saying, oh man, commission costs suck. I was paying $100. That's what everything cost back then. It wasn't until Lynn Waldock and other brokers that came out and they had discount brokerage firm fees, $35 round turn. But even that, $35 per contract is still exorbitant compared to today. So you're paying, when you're doing a 25 lot trade, you're paying a lot of money and you're not guaranteed to even overcome the spread and the commission. You want to talk about stress? That's stressful. But if you have a process that you're following and you've already identified what you are going to think in certain conditions, when the market does what you thought it was going to be, how do you feel? Do you feel like you want to go on social media and parade it around? You have insecurity issues. You need to be validated. Well, you're going to do a whole lot of things in your trading to seek that versus following a model that makes money and controlling risk. You'll be more likely to take big impulsive trades over leveraged just to impress. Because as soon as you start that problem, that mistake of taking your wins and your results that made money and you show it on social media, you throw it out there in the ether and you're waiting for the confirmation from the sky above. You are the chosen one. You are the one we've all been waiting for. We're all going to follow in a single file line behind you and bow down and worship and kiss your ass. That's what you really want. And when they don't do it enough for you, you're going to have to think, well, I got to over leverage because the last time I made a $500 win, nobody really gave two shits about it. So I have to now do something to make over $1,000. So what are you going to do? What needs to change? Your leverage. In your eyes, that's what you think needs to change. But I'm telling you, that doesn't need to happen. Because if you make the same trade tomorrow using your model and all you make is $475, you made $475. That's a win. You closed the charts and you've got more experience and you've managed yourself. You've controlled that impulsive nature, that intrusive thought about, I want to do more so I can impress other people that you don't really care about. You just want them to tell you you're better than you really are. You want some person to lie to you with a limited perspective of what you've given them. They only can see what you've just shown them, but you've not been fully transparent and said that you were terrified while you were taking that trade. You see where this is a problem? And then take a step back and think about everybody you talk to on social media, how this is actually happening behind the scenes, and you probably never thought about it, and how you're doing it too. And now they're all thinking the same thing about you. And you wonder why I'm laughing at all of you. Because I did that same stuff. And you think that this is what you're supposed to do, and it's not. Women aren't doing that. Women are not doing that. But all of you men are. All of you are. It's a measuring competition. And I'm not impressed by showing me one trade or one broker statement where you did something where you made a little bit of money. I'm more impressed when I see someone that's making it available to other people when they live stream. They let it all hang out. Come hell or high water, it's a good day or it's a bad day, they're just out there doing it. That doesn't mean I agree with their trading method. There isn't anybody out there that's trading on the live stream that I agree with any of their methodology. But I'm impressed with their ability to put themselves out there in that fishbowl for other people to watch. And it's a wonderful opportunity to study human psychology, both in their audience and how they think about price and how they worship or troll the results of these people. But also when they show their face, look at their face, read their face. Are they able to stare at the chart? How often are they looking away from the charts? That's them hiding. It's called point of indication. In magic, I mentioned this in Friday. I know I'm going on and on and on, but I promise I'll say this and I'm stopping. In magic, when you do a trick as a performer, magicians that are not refined, they will close their eyes at the moment a sleight of hand is being done. Because what they're doing is they're closing their eyes because they don't want to see themselves flash. In magic, it's called, like if you have a coin or a card in your hand, you're trying to make it appear to the spectator it's vanishing. You're actually hiding it and copying it in a certain handheld. But because they know that they're not really good enough to be doing what they're doing, they will close their eyes at the very moment a sleight of hand is being done. So when I studied under Jeff McBride, he's one of the best today card manipulators. And he taught on this principle. And it made very, very good sense to me as someone that was an educator. I was like, you know what? That's not just happening in magic. It happens in everything. And it's a tell. So if you aren't careful, you're going to ignore these point of indications in your character. And you'll put Band-Aids on them. You'll close your eyes to the things you're doing wrong. Never sharing it with the public, but the public that can see you doing them, like for instance, when a live streamer is in a trade. They didn't say they bought it or sold it yet, but all of a sudden they were talking, real talkative. And they get real quiet. And they're not looking at the charts a lot. They'll look down, they'll bite their fingernail. They'll look at the car behind themselves, think they probably paid too much money for it. How many people care about that car anymore? Or they'll look at another chart, or they'll start nodding their head to a song they're listening to, or even worse, listen. Because some of them are basically eating their microphone. Their breath will become erratic. Okay, it's getting real annoying here. They're indicating to you. That's the point of indication. That's them not comfortable in the trade, not trusting the logic. They're just hoping it's going to pan out for them. You need to do, and I'm not trolling anybody by doing this. I'm telling you, that's why I appreciate, and I have a great deal of respect for everyone that live streams, especially the ones that show their face, because they're literally laying themselves out there to be analyzed, seriously analyzed, with psychology and humanistic characteristics that are going to manifest themselves in what they're doing. You need to do the same thing while you're learning how to read price action, because you don't understand the magnitude and the depth and the impact that these things that you're trying to mask and hide in yourself. If you don't recognize what those things are, those being what makes you feel overconfident, what triggers that? What made you feel so overconfident that you're now going to trade maximum leverage? What was it? I guarantee you it's something you're trying to get as a result that is external to trading and external to the market you're trying to trade. You're trying to cope and compensate for something. Someone made you mad, someone hurt your feelings, you're in a relationship that maybe you're arguing with them, and you feel like, you know what, I gotta make myself a lot of money today, because that way I know I don't have to be codependent with them. That sometimes, ladies, you're not on the straight and narrow entirely. The thing I see in the women traders is that they will quietly over leverage their account when they're in relationships that they're in codependency with. That means the man makes the money and they're home and they're housewives. They take care of the children, or they homeschool the children. The characteristics and traits and trends that I've seen in my students are the ones that the females are like that. If they're in an abusive relationship, they will over leverage sometimes, and they use this for once. And I'm thankful, and I'm never saying your name, so please, if you know who I'm talking about, you're not the only one. I've a dozen of the women in my community that have been honest with me and told me these things. And I hope you can appreciate me sharing this in a context that it doesn't out them. But I want you to understand that women will over leverage when they're in those conditions. And why? It's not for greed's sake. They're not trying to take it to social media. They're doing the opposite. They're hiding it from their spouse because they don't want them to know that they're building up enough money to leave that toxic relationship, because they don't have the resources to do it right now. So they're quietly doing it. And then when they get abused physically or verbally, they end up taking larger trades because they want to reassure themselves that I am in a position that I can replace him. He's toxic. He's not good for my children. He's not good for me. We can't resolve this, but I can't leave. I can't escape this right now. I have no family members, no friends that I can lean on, so I'm by myself. So I'm going to do something that I know I shouldn't do, but I'm at my wit's end, so I'm going to over leverage. You need to recognize that, because that is not an invitation for a faster exit. That's you doing something incorrectly, and that's not making you a good trader. If you get rewarded with a big win, you're going to feel more inclined to do it again. The next time he hits you, the next time he talks down to you, the next time he abuses the kids, the next time you feel like you should be out of that relationship and you can't stand it anymore, you just want to jump out of your own skin. Those are those triggering moments. Those are the triggering moments. And you have to recognize that in yourself. So that way, when you start feeling that impulsive nature start rising up in you and you're trading with real money, turn the charts off. Go do something else. Go exercise, go run, go read a book, go hang out with friends. Go meet someone. Hey, you got time to meet me for lunch? Take yourself away from the marketplace. I'm telling you, this is the real reality of how you're going to have to deal with this stuff. It's not just going in every day, finding a setup and making money. That's not how this is at all. There's so many things that you're going to have to wrestle with, and you don't even realize what they are. And 99% of them are in your head or in your personal life. They're either physical things that you're coping with in a relationship or a lack of a relationship. And you're lonely and you have somebody that you're interested in, man.